Welcome to Focused on Forward. The purpose of this podcast is to focus on recovery from life situations, be it a disease, chronic or acute, perhaps the loss of someone so dear to you in death, or a change of life patterns that has affected you so profoundly that you have no choice but to find your new normal and become focused on moving forward. Each episode is designed to show the positivity that people bring to each and every one of their stories, the successes they've had, ways that they have become so definitively focused on moving forward. We look forward to sharing their stories, and we hope that they inspire you just as much as they have inspired us. Thanks for listening, and enjoy the show. Hello and welcome to Focused on Forward. Today I have the pleasure of talking with Wali Collins. Now, if that name sounds familiar to you, it's because Wali has been a stand-up comedian for a long time. And now here's the thing. When I first read his name, I didn't recognize who he was. I recognized him when I saw his face. Because when I saw his face, I said, I've listened to him. I've laughed at this man's jokes. And that's no kidding. I remember seeing you a couple different things. I believe one of them was you've been on Letterman a couple times.
Right.
And I remember seeing you on Letterman. I've seen you on a couple other, you had a special on Comedy Central, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I was a host of my own show.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So I knew I'd seen you on Comedy Central. I couldn't remember where, but okay. So yeah, you were a host of the show on Comedy Central. That's what it was. All right. So I remember seeing you there. So when I had the opportunity to interview Wali, I thought, well, geez, what am I going to interview Wali Collins about on a show that's about overcoming obstacles? Well, we're going to talk to Wali today because Wali has a really cool book called You Never Know. And we're going to talk about that book in just a couple minutes, but we're also going to talk about some of the challenges that Wali's overcome in his life that led him up to the point of You Never Know. So Wali, thank you for being on Focused on Forward today.
Well, I really appreciate having me, man. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm excited. So let me turn it over to you. You tell us your story and I'll jump in.
All right. So as all stories go, once upon a time. So I'll just fast forward to I was an architect, and I was designing buildings, and I was a very young architect, I should say. And I was having lunch with my mother. My mother's a very, very insightful person, very deep. And out of the blue, she says to me, if you could be anything you want to be, what would it be? And I said to her, I'd love to be an actor. And she just like dropped her fork and kind of like confused. And she said, well, why are you designing buildings if you want to be, an actor? And I said, well, I come from Springfield, Massachusetts. I live in Springfield, Massachusetts, and no one famous ever came from Springfield, Massachusetts. And then she gave me 3 words that kind of like catapulted up. She said to me, you never know. 3 words. And I'm like, what do you mean? She says, you never know unless you try. And it surprised me. I was like, really? She goes, yeah, we just want our kids to be happy, whatever they're doing. Don't, why are you gonna live the rest of your life miserable, So I kind of had like their encouragement or blessing, whatever, my parents. And so of course I gave her some pushback, like all people do when they want to go for a dream. They're like, no, I can't do it. And here are the reasons why. So I said to my mother, I said, well, I don't even know where to start to be an actor because there's really no acting schools or teachers or anything like that. She goes, well, comedy's hot now. Why don't you, do some stand-up comedy and then parlay that into an acting career? And I was like, oh, wow, that's a pretty good idea. And comedy was pop, there was like comedy nights and comedy clubs. Everyone's trying to do comedy. So I found this comedy night. I'll never forget it. It was on a Wednesday, every Wednesday, at a place called the Hot L Warren. Now, the reason why it's called the Hot L Warren, because originally it was called the Hotel Warren, but the E fell off. So they were lazy and they never put the E back. So they just kept it the Hot L Warren. I kid you not. So I went to Hot L Warren and I did my 5 minutes. And it was so funny because I was so sure I was gonna get an encore. So I prepared 2 5-minute sets and I did my 10 minutes in 3 minutes. So I had 2 minutes of nothing. And I remember it was so quiet and it felt like forever. I could hear someone, stirring the ice in their drink. That's how quiet it was. So I figured I bombed. That was it. So I was done. I walked off the stage and the guy who manages it, books it, whatever, he said, where you going? I said, I'm going in my car, man. I see it. I'm going to my car. He goes, don't worry about that, man. Listen, you have something special. You have stage presence. We can't teach that. What we can teach is how to write material, how to work out a set. So he put $5 in my hand. The very first time I stepped on stage as a comedian, he put $5 in my hand and he said, see you next week. I was like, okay. So each week I just worked on an act, worked on my set, and I kept that at the back of my mind. Like my mother said, you never know. So I built an act up and I went out to Boston and I started working out in the clubs in Boston, started headlining all through New England. And then I started doing cruises and, I just started traveling. Then I started doing colleges, some clubs here and there. I got my gig at Comedy Central. I was the first African-American to host a show on Comedy Central. So I'll take that. And
That's awesome.
yeah. And one day I remember I was finished with the show. And I remember all this came from my mother saying, you never know. And I said, well, I went this far, let's go further with it. And so, I got into the acting thing. I got over 30 international commercials, got a few films, under my belt. I got a show on Netflix. I'm in a show called The Get Down on Netflix right now. So I did those things because you never know. And so I said, this really works. So I wanted to encourage other people. So I said, you know what? I want to make you never know a more clever and catchy kind of thing. So I shortened it to one word and made it you never know. So it's Y''NEVANO. So I was like, okay, cool. So I said, now I got to do something with this. And so I started a website to encourage people, but also for people to encourage each other. And every Monday, I'll write these different blogs to get people going, to kind of like be a motivator for that week. And I had like 100 or so written. And I said, this would be a really good book someone can take with them, like a friend of theirs, when they see an obstacle or some kind of blockage, whatever, go to one of those encouragements and that'll help them get through. So I said, you know what, I'm gonna write a book. And I hate reading, but I'm gonna write a book anyway. So, but I did it because you never know. So I wrote the book, I self-published it, and then I went on a tour and things started taking off. And the whole point of you never know is not necessarily succeeding or failing. It's all about the journey of it. It's all about the try. When I do workshops or seminars, I just stress that. It's that one little switch right there. Your whole world changes. I know you read in the book, take a left instead of a right. We all have that routine where, we step out of our house and we take a left to go to work. Why not take a right? Why not, have a salad instead of pizza? Take the stairs instead of the elevator. Your watch, if you have a wristwatch, put the watch on your opposite wrist. Once you do that, it takes you out of that routine, that mindset, and a whole new world opens up. So it's just that simple. You never know. You never know. And when people say, well, I'm going to fail at trying, whatever, people don't understand the whole point of going for your goals, dreams, and desires, because it's never about the end goal. It never is. It's always about the journey. And I'll give you the example. So when someone tries to learn a new language, try to learn an instrument, or play a song on a piano or guitar, or try to lose weight, once that person reaches that goal, someone's going to notice it and say, wow, you did it. And that person's always going to say, yeah, I did it. But let me tell you what I had to go through to get there. That's always the more interesting conversation. And the perfect example, the most ultimate of examples, I should say, is when you go on a journey. Someone sees someone far away. You can take a plane. You got the plane, you got to take a taxi to the hotel. You stay overnight, and then you get back into a car, drive to that person. You get to that person, they'll hug you, shake your hand, they'll greet you. And the very next thing they do or say will be, how was your trip? It's always about the journey. It's always about the journey. So that's what you never know is about. It's about that thought and changing your mindset and just going for it and enjoy the try, enjoy the journey. So that's what I've always been doing with my life. And that was my mantra. And it's always been my mantra. And I want other people to see how easy it is. And I got to be an example of it. And there you go.
No, that's awesome. So speaking of your blog, and we'll talk about this for a couple minutes. as we were talking pre-show, I love this because the whole point of this podcast is to talk about how people have overcome obstacles and the challenges in their life and what they're doing with a mindset of positivity to move forward.
Hmm.
And so being focused on forward, we try to, talk to people who have that type of goal in mind as well.
Right.
And so your blog on younevaknow.com does just that. And that's what the book does as well. I mean, so there's three bullet points here at the top of the page. I'm going to read these off real quick because I think they're fantastic.
Okay.
Um, it says, you never know until you take action. You can never be certain. It's impossible to predict. And self-empowering, a state of mind to live a regretless life. And I love those three things because we look at life, and I think many people look at it as it's has to be this. They pigeonhole themselves before they even get going.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, and I love the fact that your mother was like, well, just try it, do
Right.
it, see what happens. You never know. And that's amazing to me. That, that was the impetus for getting all this going. Because I'm not saying that parents aren't supportive, but once somebody's already in an established field, like you were already an architect, you were already working on designing buildings, and you've gone through, clearly there's some extra education that goes into this. And
Yeah.
and I think most parents at that point, and not that parents aren't supportive, but I think most parents at that point would be like, that might not be the branch that you want to step out on. You've already got this security blanket,
Hmm.
you know um so yeah, I think that's really kind of awesome.
Yeah.
uh
Yeah.
so
It really is. And I didn't realize how powerful it was. It took a while for me to understand how powerful it was and what she was saying. And once I recognized it, I just jumped on it and held on to it. And just wrote. I'm writing it out.
Oh, you should. Yeah, those are. It's amazing how sometimes just the smallest little things are the things that stick with us. Like, and I'm sure my kids are sick of hearing this, and my audience might even be sick of hearing this because I've mentioned it a couple different times in other podcasts. One of the greatest pieces of advice I ever got in my life was from an older family friend who said, "It doesn't matter how you fall; it's that you get back up." So it doesn't matter what you did to fall, you tripped, you made a mistake, you screwed up somehow. It doesn't matter that you fell, but you get back up and you try again. And so that's something I've said to my kids the whole time they were growing up.
It's really interesting. One of my favorite people is Mike Tyson, and I went to see his Broadway play
Okay.
a couple of times. And one of the quotes that really stuck out was when one of his trainers, Mike, was down and he wanted to give up, and he said to Mike, "Do you know who Bob?" He said, Bob Johnson is. Do you know who Peter Riskel is? Do you know who John Flashores is? He goes, "No, I don't know those people." He goes, "Exactly, because those are the ones who got knocked down and didn't get up. Those are the ones who quit." So I was like, "Oh, I guess
There
that's
you
how.
go.
Just that simple. Get back up." So yeah,
Yeah, there you go.
yeah,
So yeah, let's talk about a couple of these individual blog pieces. So there's a couple that stood out to me in particular,
hmm,
these encouragements. And this one is called A Fish's Life.
yeah,
And I tell you what, this is one of my, there's two that I we talked about these pre-show, but there are two that stood out in particular to me out of
okay,
all the ones that I read, and they're all good. Don't get me wrong. I think they're all
right,
very good. I think
right.
that they do the point of what they should. They're quick little. I mean, these blog post guys aren't going to take you a lifetime to read. These are clearly written by someone, as he said, who does not like to read. So they're short and sweet, but they're very, very pointed, and I love that about them. They're straight to the point. So this one calls it's called A Fish's Life. It says, and I'm just going to read this real quick. It
Right.
says, "Ever look at a fish in an aquarium? They just swim around with not much direction, just being content where they are and accepting their surroundings. If you have not tried to go for any of your passions, dreams, or desires, and believe that this is the best your life is going to be, you are one of those fish in that aquarium, just moving around the earth aimlessly until you die." I love that. And I like that because I thought about that, because we don't have fish right now, but we used to. And I thought about that, that fish just goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. There's no meaning to what they're doing. They're
Right.
just doing it because that's what they've always done.
That's all they know.
Right. So how does, so I'm going to ask you for an interpretation on this
Okay.
because, it seems like a fun thing to do. So what is we talk about not being the fish, but what's the meaning past that?
Understanding that there's a big world out there, an enormous world out there, and there are people out there who can, you just kind of like expand your mind. And once you understand and accept the fact that there is a bigger world out there, as soon as you think that, and once you open up the opportunity to say, you know what, I want to get out of this, so to speak, aquarium, things will happen to you. Because I'm a big believer and big supporter of law of attraction, manifestation. Once you think that, and you kind of like relish in that world of whatever your desires are, things are going to start to fall into your lap to say, you know what, we're going to take, the universe is going to take you in that direction. So you got to just change your mindset, and they're just simple things you can do to change your mindset and get out of that routine. And that's just that. That's just that simple.
Oh, and it's just like we talked about earlier. It's like putting your watch on the different wrist,
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
making sure that it's not even making sure, it's just trying something different,
Right.
having the red jello instead of the green jello, or
Yeah.
and whatever it is. So yeah, that's a very neat little compact thought, because sometimes it's just those little things is what we need to get us out of our rut,
Right.
and to help us move forward in life.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
It really is. It's not something major. It's like a lot of people say, I'm going to change my life. People say, I'm going to change my life as soon as I get this right, or I'm going to change my life as soon as I make this amount of money, or things are going to change as soon as I finish my vision board, and all that. But that's kind of like subconsciously giving themselves, an out to not change. And you really don't have to do all of that. You really, really don't. It's just something very, very simple, just something so simple. And once you do that, it's going to, so to speak, like that butterfly effect that's going to change that, which is going to change that, which is going to change that. So
yeah, absolutely. It ripples out for sure.
right.
So the other one I wanted to talk about, the other encouragement, was haters plus bullies equals success. Again, this is one of my favorites. And guys, again, short, sweet, to the point. And I'm going to read this section again, so that the audience can understand why I like it. It says, haters are those people that do not want you to succeed. They are jealous of your accomplishments or something that you possess. They will say and do things to you to make them feel better about what they think they are lacking in their lives. And the reason why I love this is because in the paragraph that's underneath this, the final paragraph, it says, if you ever encounter a bully or a hater, it only means that you have something special. And I love this because it's the truth.
Right.
It's because you are doing something that they can't do. You are something that they can't be. And so instead of allowing them to, my dad calls it taking up rent in your head for free.
I like that.
Yeah, don't let them take up rent for free. They're going to be in your head. They have to have a reason to be in your head.
Right.
Don't let them just sit there.
Right.
So I thought that was kind of cool too. So, so when you thought up of all these encouragements and you wrote them down, where did the impetus from each one of these come? Are there backstories to some of these, or are these just things that you thought, man, that just generalized truths in life?
It's a combination of all the above. It was encounters in my life, some of the stuff from my stand-up, because all stand-up comes from some kind of pain. And so I looked at those notes. I looked at some obstacles that other people were having or experiencing, my obstacles, trying to get into my mother's head. What will my mother say for this particular situation? So yeah, it was a collection of, like I said, all the above. And yeah, and there were just some things that were, I had the solution or I had the encouragement to help, but I really wanted to put that obstacle there first. And, even get the title, write that title to the encouragement enough to kind of be like clickbait to say, wait, what do you mean by that? So yeah, so if you look at the titles, you can see they're all kind of funky, kind of weird. The bullies plus haters equals success. What do you mean by that? Just like I talk about heartbreak. Congratulations on your heartbreak. And people are like, what? So yeah, so it was like a combination of all that.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your career growing up. Now,
Yeah.
you went from being an architect. You're an accomplished drummer. And when I say accomplished, he's been in several bands, guys. He's not just somebody just sitting there with two sticks going, what do I do with these? So he knows what he's talking about. And when it comes to music. But what I was thinking of is that, so for many comedians getting started, there's a tremendous amount of failure. And I've heard a lot of other comedians talk about the amount of time trying to get over the hump towards failure. Now, I'm not saying that when you started off, you were, I did my first gig and I was on the Tonight Show,
Right.
But it sounds like you had a little bit more of maybe a positive experience at your start than maybe some did to get going.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, I know there's a but attached to this, and
yeah, exactly.
I'm sure it's a pretty good sized one.
Yeah.
But so after that point, how, did it give you a false sense of hope after that first show, and then after that, how did you handle the rejection that came? Because I'm positive that there was rejection that came afterwards, because having talked with other actors and comedians, there's no way that it didn't happen.
Right. Yeah, I wasn't the only one. I wasn't the only one that bombed. I wasn't the only one that didn't get it or didn't, get to that next level by someone's hand or someone else's choice. Yeah, it's nothing new, and it won't be the last. I won't be the last to experience it. Like I said, I won't be the first to experience it. So it was one of those things where I was talking with other comedians or talking to other people in my field, and yeah, they got rejection or they got the no's. But I hate to sound like that person, but in my book, no just means not that way. It's like when you go, in those kids' books where they have the maze where you kind of go through, like you see them at the doctor's or dentist's office, you follow trying to go through the maze. And which I find really interesting is that if you're going through the maze and you hit a wall, that's a no. And so, so does that mean you just throw the book away because that was it? Oh, well, you know what? No, that there's a way to get to, the end or get through that maze. That. You can see that. And so you're going to keep doing it. And that's the same exact thing for any of your dreams or goals or desires. When someone says no, that just means, oh, not that way. He's going to go in a different direction. That's all.
Right. See, I choose to think of life and getting told no and trying different things in my life is, and I don't know if you remember these from when you were a kid, but I actually used to be really big into reading, and not so much now, but when I was a kid, I used to love these choose your own adventure books.
Oh yeah. I remember those.
Yeah, because if you want to do this, and you have to go to page 53. If you want to do this, go to page 37.
Right.
And I loved those because I could do something different every time.
Right.
And so I kind of equate what you just said with that. So instead of taking, instead of this, coming up to this point where a choice needs to be made or a choice is made for you, and taking it as a complete shutdown, it's just an alternate route.
Right. That's all.
Yeah. So no, I like that. That's good. Okay. So where else can people find out information about Wali Collins and You Never Know and everything else? Where can we find out more about you, Wali?
Let's see. Well, if you want to find out about me, you can go to walicollins.com, WALICOLLINS.com. You find out more about me there. Or if you want to learn about You Never Know, it's very simple. YNEVANO.com. And that'll tell you all about what You Never Know is all about, or live in a state of You Never Know state of mind. And if you want to get the book is on Amazon. And you can just search for my name or the name of the book, You Never Know, Book of Encouragement. Yeah, that's pretty much simple. I'm on Facebook and the Holy Trinity, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, because and also you have a show on YouTube right now as well.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, man, I'm really excited about it. It's called, hold on a second. I made a flyer. I'm very proud of myself. It's called Wait, What? With Wali. And
yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so it's just like we were talking before this, is that you wanted to contribute something to help people get through this crazy time. And so when I decided to do this show or have this channel, I wanted to contribute to trying to help people get through this, this pandemic and lockdown and quarantine and things like that. So I wanted to use my skills, my comedy skills, my acting skills, my producing skills, my directing skills, my editing skills, and put it all together and start this channel. And I'm getting really great feedback. And what it is it's kind of like a ridiculousness, America's Funny Home Videos. It's a family-friendly show. And it's just compilations of videos and photos that people are gonna look at and go, wait, what? So that's what it comes from. Wait, what? With Wali. And yeah, so the whole family can sit down and watch it. They're 10-minute episodes. So, because when you're on the internet, your attention span is about that long.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah, and so so far I have 12 episodes. That's 2 hours of, if you want to binge. And so I think 2 hours of binging can get you through waiting for your plane, or waiting in the doctor's office, or anything like that, or just when you want to I'm trying to find something else to watch while you're just chilling at home.
No, I've watched a couple of those. They're actually pretty entertaining. So
thank you.
Yeah, no, so I that was part of my my research. I was watching those. My wife said, well, I thought you were talking to him about a book. I'm like, yeah, but I like this. It's all part of it, I mean, let's face it, 2020 has been tough on everybody. Sure, yeah. we're in the downward slide. We're at the end of it here, but I think anything that we can do that helps people move forward,
right?
Anything that we can do that helps give them even if it's 10 minutes at a time,
right? To
give them a little distraction, crease the smile up on their face, and reverse that frown. Right. And I'm all for it. Cool. So, no, I've been really inspired by some of the stuff that you've been done, and I'm not saying that lightly. I mean that wholeheartedly.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, your book is something that everybody needs to check out. And so if you have a moment, go to Amazon.com, look up You Never Know, look up Wali Collins, look up Book of Encouragements. You can find it that way. I think it's $9.99. It's not.
No, actually, it's $11.99.
It's $11.99. I knew it was close.
Yeah, $9.99 is the ebook.
Oh, that's right, the ebook. Yeah, for if you want it on Kindle. Right. I think that's how I got it. That's why it was $9.99.
Ah, okay.
Because if I'm going to read something, it's probably going to be on my iPad. So I'll be honest with you. But yeah, so $9.99 for the ebook, $11.99 for the physical copy, the paperback. And these little posts that are in this book, guys,
encouragements.
What's that?
Encouragements.
These encouragement. That's right. I'm sorry. These are encouragements, and they are just that. You're gonna. I mean, you read these little things. They're uplifting. It's almost it's almost like your daily. Just kind of open it up and say, hey, what do I need today to get me through?
Yep.
And once you get through those, you can go to his website. You can read youneverknow.com, read his blogs and everything else. But yeah, I've been very, very encouraged by these. So
all right, my work is done.
and we're done. All right, so Wali, thank you so much for being a guest today on Focused on Forward. We always
appreciate you having me, and remember to subscribe on YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. Check out. You guys will like. Wait, what? That's a great show. So yeah, check it out. And I think I subscribed with my personal account. I'll subscribe with my Focus on Forward account as well.
And get your kids to subscribe too.
That's right. Hey, subscribers count, man. Doesn't care where
That's
they come
right.
from.
That's right.
Hey, let's
You're
be
right.
honest. YouTube is a numbers game, buddy. So
let's keep it real, son.
that's right. Exactly. So hey, Wally, thank you so much for being a guest. This has been great. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and guys, don't forget to go subscribe, check him out, all of his stuff. All right, that's going to conclude us today on Focused on Forward. Well, that concludes another episode of Focused on Forward. To be a guest of Focused on Forward, you can reach us through Twitter at podcastfof, through our Facebook page named Focused on Forward, or through email focusedonforward@gmail.com. We look forward to hearing each and every one of your stories that has yet to be told. So until then, be safe, be kind, and be loving to one another as you stay focused on forward.